All right, party peoples of the interwebs, hopefully the camera is going to stay there. I don't have my tripod. I'm balancing the phone precariously on a mug. If I can take a picture and show you at the end of this vlog, I will. So I'm back behind the Iron Curtain that is Canada, or I should say the joke is the Iron Rainbow, or the Maple Gulag, whatever you want to call it. Damn it. I'm back in Canada, and I've got to tell you, if it didn't look like it was so bloody deliberate, I might chalk it up to incompetence, but at this point in time, it's impossible to chalk this up to incompetence. It can only be malevolence or create a crisis so that the government has yet another crisis to quell, even if it's a crisis of their own making. I used to live in Lower Westmount in Montreal. Right down on Atwater is one of the most beautiful places in Montreal, known as the Atwater Market. It's a tourist hub. It's the spot where you can get meat, natural foods, farm foods. It's like an outdoor farmer's market pretty much every day of the week. There's a liquor store across the street, an SAQ, Société des Alcools de Québec, which from what I saw when I went inside is going to be on strike because Canada is hitherto now known as the country of the strike, and Quebec in particular. En grève bientôt means soon to be strike. Atwater Market is a known spot. It's the tourist attraction of Montreal. And I was recently told that Viva, you have to go back to the Atwater Market because apparently they've installed or implemented a safe injection site and a safe inhalation site directly across the street from the Atwater Market on Atwater Street as you go up into Westmount, as you go up into St. Catherine in downtown Montreal. I went down. We went down to get some meat for a barbecue at what was my favorite butcher in the city of Montreal in the Atwater Market because they have all sorts of weird meats. I used to get alligator meat there. I went down. It's something that you could not possibly imagine any rational, competent government official would authorize, let alone strategize. On the one side of the street is quite clearly a spot where there are people who are mentally ill, on drugs, homeless, sitting on the corner of the street that you have to pass through to get to the Atwater Market, doing drugs. Now, I went there and I actually had a conversation with an orderly or an employee who works there, makes sure nobody's dying of overdoses. I'll get to that in a second. So we passed by it. I'll show you the video. That's what it looks like. This is the Atwater Market, and apparently the city made the decision to put a safe injection house right across the street from the Atwater Market. After I had gone to get some windshield fluid at the Petro-Canada on the corner of the street, I walk by and I see a gentleman walking among the people who are on drugs, who he clearly looked like he was not on drugs. He clearly looked like he was an employee of whatever facility this was. And I just asked him if I could talk to him briefly. Didn't record the conversation. It was just between him and me. And I asked him, how long has this been here for? And he says, I don't know. It hasn't been here very long. He's only been there for 3 weeks. And I said, all right, have you seen any issues here? Like, have you seen any violence? And he says, you know, other than the standard altercations that you get between, I guess, the drug addicts when they fight, nothing yet, but he's only been there for 3 weeks. And I said, well, how has this been, you know, impacting the community? And then he says to me, well, there's been some murmurings or some rumblings on the ground because people are not very happy that this safe injection site, safe inhalation site with apparently a halfway house there, and apparently, from what I understand, maybe accommodations for the unhoused, homeless, low income. He says there were some grumblings on the street because, and I thought he was going to say, they placed it right across the street from the Atwater Market. It's not good for business. It's causing problems. He said, no, there were grumblings on the street because this safe injection, safe inhalation site, which has homeless drug addicts strewn about on the front lawn all day long, was built 1 block away from a school and 1 block away from a playground in a residential area across the street from one of the most amazing historic tourist attractions of Montreal. And I was like, across the street from a school? I'll show you on a map where this place is. It's 1 block from a school, 1 block from a playground. As I'm talking to this guy, asking him about his job, what goes into it, like what he does on a daily basis, even though he's only been there for a few weeks, I see one of the drug addicts hurl a needle into the grass. I was in front of the guy. He didn't see it, was to his back. And I was like, So like, what do you got to do? You got to go around and clean up the needles after the people? It's like, no, there's someone else who does that. He goes around and I guess makes sure nobody's overdosing, breaking up whatever small altercations there might be. And I say, well, how's it working out? Again, he's only been there for 3 weeks. And he says, well, the problem here is they're not administering any recovery. They're not administering any rehab. They're just providing a place for people to come and do drugs. And I said, oh, so what, they give them like, what, clean drugs? He said, no, we can't give them clean drugs. That's illegal. We give them clean needles and clean crack pipes so they can inject and smoke crack, at least using clean paraphernalia. They don't even do rehab or any form of healing. They just provide a place where people can lie strewn about the front lawn on the grass, a block from a school and right adjacent to a playground where they can do drugs with free clean needles and free clean crack pipes. This is not a question of if something happens. It's a question of when something happens, because something will happen. Something will happen either with residents of the neighborhood, tourists across the street at the Atwater Market, or God forbid especially, because adults are one thing. You know, they vote for this or they don't, and they get it. Children are the innocent people. It's a question of not if, but when something terrible happens. And if it happens to a child at that school, a child in the playground, even if it's something, call it non-violent, like a kid gets pricked with a needle that one of these people threw into the bushes. When that happens, Valérie Plante, I'm looking at you, the mayor of Montreal, the blood will be on your hands. This is idiotic. I'm reading news articles about people who live in Westmount, Lower Westmount, complaining about what this is doing to the neighborhood. People who are mentally ill, mentally unwell, confronting residents. Needles everywhere. People urinating and defecating in people's backyards. And the city is saying, yeah, it's been a rough few weeks when this got started. I think it got started in like April or May. It's been a rough few weeks. This is an abject disaster. It will end in tragedy, violence, or something equally as bad. And when that happens, the blood will be on Valérie Plante's hands. Might she be in power when it happens? Who knows? The blood will be on her hands. This is absolute insanity. I was telling the guy, you know, I go to Ottawa, and Ottawa boasts about being a city that has the most safe injection sites in its downtown core. It is a shithole. And I'm spitting on my car, I'm getting this angry. It's a shithole, and I'm not saying this to judge drug addicts or to judge the homeless. This does not solve any flipping problem. This exacerbates every problem that they are purporting to want to solve. Overdoses have been a serious problem in Quebec and in Canada. You're damn right it has. Nothing like shutting down a country for 2 years, messing with people's mental well-being, facilitating access to drugs, decriminalizing hard drugs if you go to British Columbia. It's amazing how trying not to swear, every single flipping government policy enacted has exacerbated the problem, and now you got record levels of overdose. And what do? Let's offer a free injection site and a free inhalation site with no rehab, no treatment, 1 block from a school. You're absolute idiots. This is not incompetence. This is culpable negligence at best. And that's it. This is what's going on in Canada. Some people are telling me, Viva, you got to calm down. You're going to give yourself a stroke. I jogged. I exercised. I'm physically in good shape. I'm psychologically doing well, but I look at this and I say this cannot be an accident. It cannot be incompetence. It has to be malicious, and it has to be by design. All of this, by the way, at the same time, I went for a bike ride yesterday and I documented that. I'll share the link to my Viva Random on Rumble. I biked through Mount Royal, over the summit. Set aside the fact that the city is perpetually under construction. Someone made a funny joke. Montreal's a beautiful city when they finish building it. I drive down Park Avenue, homeless drug addicts lying on the street. One guy I thought was dead, and there were people around him. I was like, was this guy dead? And I see his lips, at least he was breathing. And what am I going to do? What can I do? Other than raise awareness of the abject stupidity. I went downtown Montreal. It's a city in decay. It's a city in decline. And it's a city governed by abject stupidity, rampant corruption, and I would dare say it's the people trying to get everyone used to a 15-minute city. This is a bit of a tangent, but I'm going there. Getting everybody used to living basically in something of an open-air prison. You got your parks over here. Stay away from that park because we've decided to install a safe injection site, safe inhalation site next to a school and a playground. Stay in your home. Don't go anywhere, and be thankful that there's police extra police presence where they installed a safe injection site. And by the way, we're not actually doing anything to help these people. We're just facilitating and enabling their addiction. But at least we'll make sure they don't overdose when they overdose. But we'll offer medical assistance in dying to drug addicts because that's where Canada's going. Create a problem, exacerbate the problem, and then offer death as the solution because the government is incapable of resolving the problems they have caused. You live with who you vote for. The problem is, so does everyone else, including the children who didn't vote for Valérie Plante, that raging idiot. And this is the city of Montreal. This is what it has descended into. I leave 2 years ago. I come back and I barely recognize this city. It's frustrating, it's depressing, and what the hell am I to do? Raise awareness. It's an abject disaster. Whoever thought of that shouldn't just be fired, should be charged with criminal negligence because something will happen. And when it happens, you'll have this video to bookmark the moment I said, you are all the biggest idiots on earth. And whatever happens, the blood Valérie Plante, it's on your hands. Viva Frei, make sure you are notified, whatever, subscribed, turn notifications on. The Viva Frei on Twitter, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And now I'm going to go make a barbecue with the wonderful, beautiful slab of veal that I got from the Atwater Market. But this is the absolute state of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, circling the drain. Circling the drain. You get who you vote for, and so does everyone else. All right, I gotta go make a barbecue. Peace out, peeps. Booyah.
Here we have Atwater Market.
This is the Atwater Market. It's a beautiful, quaint tourist spot. Lachine Canal behind us. And an SAQ right over there, the Société Alcool de Québec. That's where you buy the alcohol. Look at the graffiti. I mean, that's always been there. And, okay, I can't make a left. This is the flower place. And this is the safe injection site.
That's where we get our pumpkins.
This is where we get our pumpkins. And this is where, I guess people, it is what it is. And, I just had a conversation with an orderly or somebody who works there. I'll talk about that in the vlog when everyone's out of the car. We're governed by idiots.